the three most fundamental movements, but those movements by themselves will highlight any deficiencies your bodies may have. Whether it's a weak core, whether it's tight hips, weak wrists, tight shoulders, mobility. So those three movements will highlight all those weaknesses for you. All right, and then the other movements that we do here is just kind of complementary to those. Ankles, it could be tight hips, so you might not be able to get that range of motion. So every body structure is going to be a little bit different. All right, so don't kind of beat yourself up if you're not getting it right away, or if you're not getting the full range of motion that somebody else is getting. Somebody said it takes about 300 to 500 reps to retrain. You got to get those abs engaged. So everything starts from the core and then works its way out to the extremities. All right, because that's what's going to keep you safe. That's what's going to help you get that range of motion, and that's what's going to engage the other muscles. All right, so it's going to help prevent injury. So keep in mind core to extremities, and then breathing. All right, so breathing. So breathing in and then breathing out. So on the push part is when you are going to be breathing out. On the reset is when you breathe in. So whether it's a squat, a deadlift, that is the breathing technique. And we'll go through that during each of the movements. All right. What else we got here? Yeah. So as I mentioned, it starts from the core to extremities. So that's why we don't do a lot of isolation ab exercises. I think I can't remember which workout it is where we do actually have a core pod. But for the most part, we don't do a lot of crunches. We don't do a lot of sit-ups. We do all the other movements that we do actually have to engage that core. So that's why we do that core to extremity thing. All right, so having said that, at any point in time, if something doesn't make sense, or if you have any questions during the demos or the workshop, let me know, and then we'll take it from there, right? You can do this all day, and you're not really recruiting any muscles, okay? You can do 500 of these, and then you would still get, out of 5 reps, I would get more muscle engagement in that versus 500 of these. So range of motion is key. So what we want to do, everyone stand up for this one. We want to get a hold, and then we're going to drop that bum, and we're just going to stay here, okay? So that is the depth of the squat that I need you guys to be in. Now, if you're having trouble in this position, you either have tight hips, you have tight knees, or you have poor ankle stability. So there's a lot of different things. So not everybody can do this. But that is kind of the depth that I want you guys to do. So at the beginning of class, yeah, you guys can come up now. So at the beginning of class, what I want you guys to do, we've taken away the stretch after class. What you guys can do to open up those hips is sit in this position at the beginning of class. And then push my hips forward to open up those hips. So you could use this, you could use one of the sleds for that. And then for that squat, so let's just all practice this chest out, okay, and keep that back straight. So we don't want that rounded shoulder. So what we're going to do is we're going to create like a little diamond in front of us. We're going to create like a little, what do you call it, counterbalance, and we're going to squat down as low as we can. So let's do like 3 or 4 and see how low you can go. There you go. And notice how straighter your back is and how that chest is sticking out. There you go. So, good, perfect. And what I'm seeing now is perfect squat. So, a lot of you guys are squatting and you're getting those knees out, open, allowing the hips to go lower. Okay? Beautiful. So, yeah. But that's a good idea to get the elbows. However, having said that, some people it's right. Yes, exactly, right? Yeah, I like that. Good?
How do you do straight back?
You're straight back, and then straight spine. This is perfect. This is perfect straight back. All right? So most people will kind of lean forward, and so you see that space? We're taking everything away from the hips, and then we're putting a lot of pressure on the labrum stem. So that is what you want. All right?
So not straight up and down.
And then you just have the dumbbells. Grab the floors. We're going to squat. So have them above the shoulders, and then we're just going to squat. So let's do 10. Yeah, up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. what you call a freak. I'm kidding. No, that was good. If you can be as vertical as you can, there you go. That was really good. There's no way I'm going to do that. That's how I get. So you've got good hip mobility and good core strength. All right. So yeah. So if you've got a friend, I know you're not going to walk around the gym and be like, "Can I do this?" Right? Like so. But I mean, just keep that in mind when you are squatting. Is that you don't want to be like this. All right. Also, going into the deadlift, we're going to keep that straight back as well for all those bent over stuff. All right. It either chokes you, it either hurts your wrists, or you can't get those elbows up high enough. All right. So that is a mobility issue. Now, the purpose for the back squat, you'll probably be able to lift a lot heavier. So this one is going to, for that added resistance, if you're trying to find your max reps or to build muscle, the back squat is one of the best exercises. However, that weight load onto your spine, you have to really engage those abs for that back squat. So this is where that core to extremity comes in. Keep those abs tight. The other issue with that is, with that weight on your back, your tendency as you squat is, it's going to push you forward, right? So now you're doing almost like a good morning rather than a squat, okay? So by having your core nice and tight, you can kind of come down, staying nice and tall, pushing those knees out, and then up. By having it in the front rack position, now the weight distribution is going to go down into my butt, because it's pushing my butt back. And then by having the elbows up here, it forces my butt back. If the elbows are down here, it's the same thing as that back squat, where that bar is now going to come forward and pull me forward. All right, so the one thing to practice for that front rack position is grab, again, at the beginning of class, if you see there is a front rack or a front squat, grab one of these bars, or if you've got like a broomstick at home, you're going to go here, so you're just going to hold it like this, you're going to go here, you're going to grab it, and then you're going to work on that mobility, and you're going to hold that stretch, okay? So that's either tight shoulders or tight triceps, and that's going to give you that mobility, and you're just going to hold that 20 seconds, 30 seconds, relax, do the other arm. I would do like 3 or 5 sets, get it all the way back. So that way, when you do have that bar racked, okay, you're going to have it here, and then I just kind of rest it on my fingers, right? And then you're going to have those elbows up. So that your elbows are parallel to the floor. And then you're going to squat down nice and low, and then back up, okay? So that's another mobility exercise you could work on.
But it's like, that's if I do it.
More towards in, and then I'm going to have this bar. Okay. All the way back. Use that bar to come across the tricep. See the arched back. Okay. We see limited range of motion. Okay. And then we see fingers together, okay? And then elbow flaring, so elbows coming out here. So we're going to go through all of those. Everybody, let's get on the ground and find some space. The reason for that is going to create more of a space, a weight distribution. So don't do your push-ups with your fingers attached or closed in. We want to open up the hand and take the pressure off that wrist, okay? So now what we're going to do, so from the kneeling position, I still see a lot of people doing this for push-ups. We are going to have our shoulders stacked over our wrists, and then we're going to come completely down, so chest to the floor. All right, so everybody start from the ground. So chest to the floor, fingers spread out. All right, your elbows should be at about a 45-degree angle, so not flaring out. And your fingers should be pointing straight forward, not in a diagonal motion. All right, so now push up, keeping your back nice and straight. Good, perfect. I hear a lot of elbow cramp. So back down, and then back up. Beautiful. All right, so that's the first progression. So now we're going to get back onto our bellies. So now we're going to push up, but we're going to get up onto our toes. All right, we're going to get off our knees. So same thing, elbows 45 degrees, fingers spread out. All right, in 3, 2, 1, and push up. Nice. There you go. And back down. All right. Ready? One more time. 3, 2, 1, push up, and back down. Beautiful. All right. At an angle this way. All right? So using a box or a bench versus the knees. The reason being is when we do push-ups from the knees, we take everything away from the core. All right? And in order to get stronger with that push-up, it's not just chest, pecs, shoulders, triceps. We gotta have those abs nice and engaged. All right? So if space is limited, I get it. So when we do it from the knees, I want you guys to go all the way down and all the way up. All right? And then you're gonna hold that position. All right? And up. There you go. So that back is straight, so keep your head up. So there you go. So we want there, perfect. Down and then up. So notice his elbows are at a 45-degree angle. Back is nice and straight, it's not rounded, so there is that space here. So he's not actually rounding the back. You want that space there, which is perfect. Good, thanks. So you want that here, but then you don't want to go up here. You just want to
I got you, sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, and then point the elbow. There, right there. That's the angle you should be doing. Yeah, yeah.
Because I was doing it.
Yeah. We're making it more hard than
Okay.
yeah. In that vertical position. You still want your fingers open and then pointing straight forward, not or this way. Right? Good point. Working. You got the tricep, you got the shoulders, and then you got the pecs. And the core. When you take your elbows tucked in, you put more pressure on the triceps, less on the shoulders, less on the pecs. So this small muscle versus all these big muscles has to do more of the work. And that's why the tricep push-ups are. And with the tricep, it's also a neglected, I don't want to say neglected, it's one of the muscles we don't kind of use as often. We use it to stand up, to sit up, but we don't lift anything with it, right? We don't use it as often, so it is pretty like our posterior chain. So that's why it's hard. All right. What else? Deadlift. Especially if you want to go heavier, we can't. There's no room for error. Like we can't really make a mistake because then you will feel that in your lower back and cause some back pain. So I'm going to go through some common errors that I see, and then we'll kind of go through it. So one of the common errors I see in the deadlift is the overextension. So if you go to like Gold's Gym, Good Life, not to, I don't know if any gym, sorry, but like the big bodybuilder type guys, they're going to do their deadlift, and then they're going to overextend at the top here. That puts a lot of pressure on that lower back, all right? It's unnecessary, it's an unnecessary movement. We do want that full hip extension for that deadlift, so you are going to do your deadlift, and you're going to come up, and then you're going to squeeze those glutes at the top. There's no need to lean back, because that could cause a lot of injuries, and that's probably where a lot of the injuries happen versus the actual lift, all right? Make sense? So that's one of the errors that we're going to be looking out for. And then range of motion. So on our videos, there's Corey that comes down and then he sits down. There's a lot of different types of deadlifts. Romanian deadlift, straight leg deadlift, suitcase deadlift. The main one we're going to go through today is going to be the Romanian. And that's more just for back placement, all right? So the suitcase deadlift is actually like as if you were picking up that suitcase. So there's more of a squat involved. The Romanian deadlift, we're just getting more of the glutes and the hamstrings, that posterior chain, where we're coming to about mid-shin, right? If we're using the Olympic bar, the plates are big enough that you can actually come all the way to the floor. When we're using these bars, the plates aren't big enough, so we have to stop mid-shin to really engage the glutes and the hamstrings, and then we're gonna come back up, all right? So range of motion is another issue for the deadlift. Squat versus a so. As mentioned, there's that suitcase deadlift where we're just kind of doing this. So this is more of a weighted squat rather than a deadlift. So getting more of the quads rather than the hamstrings. So again, we're looking at the Romanian today, which is getting more of that bow versus the squat. Okay. Last one, rounded back. So doing doing deadlifts this way. Okay? So that's going to put a lot of pressure here. It's going to put a lot of pressure here. All right? So this is the most common one that I see, is coming down here and then back up. All right? So number one, you're not going to be able to lift as heavy because you will probably pull a muscle or something, and you're not engaging the core. You're putting all the weight, you're allowing the bar to dictate the movement by doing it this way instead of you dictating the movement. All right? So those are the common ones. Rounded back, bar placement, bar path, shoulder. Okay, so feet. So usually, let me grab a plate, usually a 45-pound plate, and then you are going to have your feet just like that. So you see how it's kind of pointing outwards a bit? It's shoulder width apart. That is going to be your feet placement. So if I step away from that, I'm going to start here, okay? You don't want it too close. You don't want it too far. You want it about shoulder width apart and with the toes pointing out slightly, okay? And as you squat down, and back up. All right, so that's a good visual for you guys to kind of keep an eye on. And then shoulders back. So before any lift, like I said, we want core to extremity, so we got to engage those abs. Shoulders back, so you're going to have your feet placement, okay? You're going to have your feet placement there, and then your first thing you're going to do is chest out, shoulders back. Now, for those who have tight chest, I know we usually go with an overhand grip or a mixed grip. If you guys have a tight chest and you guys have trouble lifting because of this, you either have a tight chest, tight shoulders, I want you to do a deadlift with the palms facing up, all right? So by having your hands called in a supine position, you're going to see that it actually opens up the chest. So it's going to open up your chest, allowing you to do the deadlift that way. Okay, so first is this way, where it caves in, you're going to open it up. Okay, and then you're gonna have your feet placement, chest out, shoulders back, and as I'm coming to pick it up, my shoulders stay. I don't round again. So palms forward, head up. Okay, chest out. We're going to squat down, pick it up, and then we're going to come up. Okay, so is that once that bar comes forward, you put a lot of pressure on that lower back, and you're going to hurt that lower back. And then there's a more tendency to round the shoulders. By having that bar physically touching your legs, like shaving your legs, you're going to be in a better position to keep your abs nice and engaged and keep your shoulders back. So as you deadlift, you're going to shave those legs. You're going to come up. Okay? Make sense? All right. So we've got a bunch of bars. Yes, and sorry, hand placement should be it's tough to pinpoint. You can do that, and then sometimes it's more mental muscle connection, so that you're like pushing down on the plates.
If you have like a weightlifting shoes, kind of like high heels, that's kind of the same.
Like usually it's just a circular plate, so then it is pointing out slightly, not necessarily.
So if I'm like this, it's okay?
That's fine. Yeah, not straight, but just slight.
Okay.
Slight.
And
And
feels better.
and more, and then that just forces that shoulder. Okay. And then, so good point on that feet placement. So because of our Olympic plates, you don't want those feet pointing out too much. It's because it's got all those angles and that octagon type thing. Usually with the circular plates, it's easier because then basically you just got to have your feet shoulder width apart, toes pointing out slightly. So we don't want to be straight on, we don't want to be too wide, and we don't want to be too close. Okay. When you're lifting with the Olympic bar, if everyone can see, there's that. You can see all of that scraping on your shins. So you're basically just going to have your shins just on the inside of those. Knurlings. Thank you. Knurlings. All right. So there. Another thing for the deadlift, okay, is you want to make sure, come up here, that your Alexander, come up. You are my demo guy today. So, when you do your deadlift, so face this way. So, we're going to keep an eye on his shins. So as you lean forward, I want you to imagine that your shins are glued, your calves and your shins are glued into the, cemented into the ground. You want to keep them vertical. So lean forward, so more hip. There you go. There you go. Lower, lower, lower. There. So we want to keep that, your shin forward. So a common fault is, now if you want to bend your knees forward, see if that happens, then you're taking everything away from that posterior chain. All right, so we want to keep your shins as straight as you can, making the movement come from the hips and the glutes. Make sense? So that is a vertical position. And then stay there. And then again, oh shit, sorry. There. You've got that straight bar again. All right? So you've got that straight path. Again, there's a little bit of space here. He's not rounding at the back. And then you've got that straight line. Keeping his back nice and straight. You should still be able to feel it in your glutes and in your hamstrings. So not only are we engaging the upper back when we're doing those rows, your lower back or your lower posterior chain, you're getting the hamstrings and the glutes. So it's a great entire posterior chain movement.
So my feet are my knees are just a little bit
Yeah.
and I can spread kind of like down.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
Or is
Do
that
it again, do it again. Just stay there. Yeah. That's perfect. Don't move your hip. Yeah, we're gonna go this way. Exactly. That's perfect. Yeah.
now when so watch Brenda though. So she doesn't more of a squat, and then I don't know
Back is
that
completely.
like it looks the same. I feel like I'm oh, okay.
So I kind of got to squat in order to get down there.
So this, your shins were vertical, and your back was straight. Yeah. So keep an eye on the mixed grip, unless you are going extremely heavy, and that's just going to prevent the fingers from opening up. So it's just stronger grip strength. Also, it helps create that straight bar path. So notice when I present the demos, I always talk about that bar path going straight up and down. Okay, so it's not swinging forward. So by having that mixed grip, it actually keeps that bar in a straight path. Okay, but the mixed grip should only be used when you are lifting heavy. Otherwise, you want to get used to this grip strength to work the right muscles, the forearms and the wrist. Okay, when you're going heavier, then that's where the mixed grip comes in. It was a good example because it was a strict shoulder press, so going overhead and up. Then there's the push press, which is there's a dip in the knees and in the hips. And there's the squat press, where you're actually getting all the way down and then pressing. Okay. There's the barbell, there's the dumbbell. The key thing that you want to use for the push press, we're not going to spend a lot of time here, is that core to extremity engagement. So engaging those abs, we're not going here, okay, because then that, again, that puts a lot of pressure on that lower back, all right? We want to kind of tuck the ribs in and engage those abs. Also, when you are pushing up, so here, you're going to tuck the ribs in, keep those abs nice and tight, you're not arching, you're going to, what they call in CrossFit, you're going to put your head through the window. So stacking the shoulders up and then engaging those shoulders a lot more. So instead of just coming up forward here, we're going straight up, and then you're going to put your head through the window. All right? So let's partner up again, grab a pair of dumbbells or grab a outside the shoulders. Yeah. Yeah. You feel that shoulder engagement at the top there? Yes. And then same thing, tuck those ribs in. I always say reverse. Meaning, so that way when you step back, it's a little bit harder because you don't usually walk backwards, so there's more stabilizers involved. So as you step back, my shin and my knee is still going to stay up vertical, and it's not leaning over my toe. So by going backwards, it's actually going to protect that knee. Okay, and then that range of motion, I don't want you going up crazy far. You're just going to take a little step back, and then you're going to be 90 degrees here, and then you're going straight down. So we're just going straight down. So going forward, that same movement, I'm not leaning forward into that knee, putting a lot of pressure on that knee. I'm just going to step forward, and I'm going to come straight down, and then back up. Okay? So, going forward and back. This motion is very different than this motion. Okay? So we're actually getting, we're still getting the right muscle, but we're getting the wrong motion, so we're not recruiting the proper fibers. So instead of doing this, okay, we want to mimic that same movement that we are going to be doing as a pull-up, for a pull-up. So we're going to sit on here, whether we're doing an overhand grip, or a mixed grip, or an underhand grip. You're going to drive that band, squeeze those shoulder blades in the back. So that's going to get the right muscles that we're working. So this is the very first beginner movement for that, to build that strength for that chin up. Okay? Second one, we've all done. You're going to put your feet or knees. So some people put the knees in, which is easier, and then harder with the legs, feet, to pull up. Okay? To build that strength, what I want you guys to do, again, at the beginning of class, with or without the bands, or even, with or without the bands, is you're going to pull this way, whatever the grip is. You're going to jump up, and I want you to hold 1, 2, 3, and then come down nice and slow. Again, up, 1, 2, 3, come down nice and slow. So by having that time under tension and working on that negative, that's going to create that mind-to-muscle connection about which muscles are involved for that pull-up. Time under tension to build that strength so that eventually you can do that pull-up. All right? Any questions on pull-ups? You're pulling up this way, or underhand grip, and you're pulling up this way. That's another good one. Okay? And then the straighter the legs, the harder it is. The knees bent, so you can actually use a little bit of that leg to kind of put yourself up. That is also a good one. So that one will also get you used to lifting your body weight that way. So first progression would be with the bands. Second would be, I would say, this. And then the third would be like 1, 2, 3, and then coming down nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, coming down nice and slow. All right? So the difference between an overhand grip and an underhand grip. So overhand grip is going to isolate your back. All right, it's going to take, it's going to isolate your lats, your rhomboids. Where this, the underhand grip, is going to be easier because you're actually telling the body to, the biceps to kind of help pull you up. So you're going to feel that in your biceps. So there's more muscles involved. So biceps and back for that one. All right. Questions on? Yeah.
So usually in class, 40 seconds is long enough on this exercise. Would it be easier to do 10 with the bands, or maybe do at least 2 without the bands?
Good question.
How would you?
I would say, if your goal is to eventually get rid of the bands and do a pull-up, I would do it without the bands. I want you to build that strength and that confidence. I would do it without the bands, if that's your goal. So I would jump up, hold for as long as you can, like 3, 5 seconds, come down, again. So the more you can do it without the bands, the more you're going to create that muscle-mind connection and build that strength. All right. Any other questions? Hopefully you got something out of that.